Good morning. Morning. I'm Councillor Linda Curran, Chair of the Licensing Subcommittee, and I'd like to welcome you here today to the Licensing Subcommittee meeting. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting that the public can attend. Before we commence, I would like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice today. If the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber, turn right, proceed down the stairway through the emergency exit onto the ground floor. The assembly point is in the public square in front of Cast, beyond the fountain. Anyone with mobility issues should wait in the refuge area near the lift and use the intercom to call for assistance. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's website. By entering the Council's chamber, you're accepting that you're recorded and your images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If anyone intends to record today's meeting, please ensure that this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode. And thank you. I will commence the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence. Any apologies? Thank you. Item 2, exclusion of the public and press. In regards to agenda item 5, part of the additional documents submitted by the applicant are not for publication, as they contain personal information protected by data protection legislation. In addition, Appendix F of agenda item 6 and part of the additional documents submitted by the applicant are not for publication, as they contain personal information protected by the data protection legislation. Therefore, they would not be part of the public agenda. If anyone wishes to discuss Appendix F or the exempt parts of the additional documents submitted, the press and public will be excluded from the meeting and the press and public will be brought back into the meeting once these discussions have concluded. Please note, when the subcommittee goes into deliberation to determine the decisions of all public press will be excluded from this meeting. They will be then brought back into the meeting to hear the subcommittee's decision. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Oh, thank you, Chair. Item 4, minutes held on the 24th of April, 8th of May and 9th of May. Can these minutes be moved as a true and accurate record?
Yes, Chair. Vice President.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Thank you. Is that agreed?
Chair.
Item 5, application for the review of the existing premises licence, Stop and Shop, 15 East Lathgate, Doncaster, DN1 1JG. Can I remind the parts of this additional document submitted by the applicant are exempt, and if any members wishes to discuss these, the public and press will be excluded from the meeting and brought back in once these discussions have concluded. We're now here today to discuss the application for a review of the existing premises licence for Stop to Shop, 15 East Lathgate, Doncaster, DN1 1JG. All parties have indicated that they wish to address the subcommittee and will be given the opportunity to speak. The procedure will be followed in a set out in the report. Has everyone had a copy? Has anybody not seen a copy? Can I now introduce the licensing officer representing to introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. This hearing is to determine an application to review an existing premise licence in respect of Stop and Shop on 15 East Lathgate. The premises concerned are currently a shop licensed for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises. The premises failed inspections in March and October of 2023 and the 12th of January 2024. Illicit nicotine inhaling products, which are commonly called vapes, were found on the premises. I can confirm that the application has been correctly advertised and that the mandatory consultation has taken place. I can confirm that all the required notices of the hearing have been given and all parties have been made aware of the procedure to be followed at the hearing, both in the notes that accompany the notice of hearing and in the hearing papers. The options available to the committee when making its determination are detailed in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, my name is Karen O'Rourke and I'm the applicant in this matter, that being the review of the premise that Hayley's outlined there, Stop and Shop, situated at 15 East Lathgate, Doncaster. And I represent the Trading Standards Service, which is a responsible authority for the purposes of the Licensing Act 2003. Now, the grounds on which the service seeks this review are set out in the application, which appears as Appendix B at page 24 of the original private agenda pack sent to you on the 23rd of May. Now, from that application, you'll be aware that this review concerns 3 of the 4 licensing objectives on which you base your decisions when determining this licensing issue. Now, those 3 separate objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, the protection of children from harm, and public safety. Now, we did serve an extra bundle of documents on you. I do apologise for those being later at the end of last week. That was my fault, but you should have them. And they're labelled Stop and Shop Bundle 1. Now, the reason for serving that is because I was going to be referring to legislation that you might not have been aware of. So I've supplied extracts from the government legislation website in that supplementary bundle. I've also supplied some other evidence that might form part of a prosecution that would be taken in respect to this particular premise. They're all in that bundle. The bits that are generic are at the front of the bundle, and the ones that should be on pink paper are at the rear of the bundle. So 1 to 28 is white, and 29 to 106 should be pink. And I know that you know and understand what that means in respect of it. The other thing that I do need to apologise for, and I don't know why I'm apologising here because it's not really anybody's fault, but you'll notice that in that supplementary bundle, some pages are numbered, some pages are not. Now that's to do with the application that's used to make the bundle. It doesn't like it when we have scans of papers and it can't perceive that there's an extra edge to the paper to put the number on. So I do apologise for that in advance, but you can find, I've had a look through the bundle and you should be able to find your way through from the page numbers that are actually present. I'm now going to return to the specifics of the review, which, as we've been indicated by Hayley, is regarding the supply of nicotine inhaling products, which I'm going to refer to now as vapes because that's what they're commonly known as. Now, the vapes that concern us are disposable devices suspected of breaching Regulation 36 of the Tobacco and Related Products Regulations 2016, in that the tank size of the devices are believed to exceed the maximum 2 mils allowed in law. Now, from now on, I'll refer to that piece of legislation as TARP. That's what we call it when we're discussing it in the office. It just makes it easier than that long name that we've just given you. Now, from pages 1 to 5 in your supplementary bundle, you can see that Regulation 36 is contained in Part 6 of TARP. That's at page 11 of that supplementary bundle. You'll also find Part 9 of TARP, which deals with offences that can be committed in breach of those regulations. On that same page, that's page 11, we can see that Regulation 48D lists a breach of Part 6 as constituting an offence. Now, the services uses quite a crude measure for determining compliance of a tank size. Officers examined the packaging when we go into shops. We look at the packaging of vapes and look at the number of puffs a device claims to contain. Now, any product that contains over 800 puffs, which is deemed to be the average of puffs thought to be dispensed by a 2 mil tank, is suspected of breaching that Regulation 36 unless there's evidence to the contrary. And I can tell you that there now is, or bigger or larger devices that do still have a 2 mil capacity. Sometimes it's because they're using pods that have a 2 mil capacity. Other times it's because the liquid that's now being used is different and therefore it enables more puffs to be coming out of that device but still remain within that particular piece of legislation. The ones that we're talking about, though, far exceed that 2 mil capacity. Now, we have a colleague called Diane Terry. She's a senior trading standards officer, and she had cause to test a particular device in a case in 2023. Now, that case didn't involve Stop and Shop. It had nothing to do whatsoever with the premise that we're talking about. However, that test is still relevant. And I thought that I'd give you the photographs that went along with that test so you could see, I could illustrate to you what we mean when we talk about this liquid exceeding that's allowed in law. So the vape tested was an RMM Tornado 7000. Now my colleague dismantled the device. The liquid was extracted and measured with Doncaster's working standard 10ml capacity measure. Now that's quite technical, that. And I know it sounds technical, but what it means is that that measure had been checked for its accuracy in measuring liquids and has passed the tests, so to speak, when it comes to measuring volumes up to 10 mils. The measurement obtained from the RMN Tornado 7000 was 7.6 mils, exceeding the 2 mil limit by 5.6 mils. So you can see in a 7,000 puff vape, that's quite a considerable difference. Now, in your supplementary bundle, I've already said you'll find photographs that Diane took as she was doing that particular test. And that illustrates, I think, it's always better to see something. It's easier to understand what we're talking about when we've got something visual there for you to see. Now, trading standards also find that some vapes might offend the Trademarks Act 1994, as certain names appear on packaging which are the same as or strikingly similar to the brand names of confectionery and sometimes drinks. Now, from now on, I'll refer to the Trademarks Act 1994 as TMA. Now, on this occasion, I'll be referring directly to the sweets, Skittles, and bubblegum named Hubba Bubba. The organisation that protects those brand names or trademarks was contacted and was of the opinion that there was a breach of section 10.3 of the TMA. I've therefore included a copy of section 10, which appears at the page 21 of your supplementary bundle. Now, that particular section is a civil breach. And what I did was I took the measure of consulting somebody who's actually an expert in the intellectual property field, because I'd never seen a statement that was talking about section 10 before. All the ones that I've ever dealt with have talked about section 92, because that's the criminal breach. Now, what that expert told me is that section 10 is a necessary component of proving a criminal breach, which I've already indicated would be a breach of section 92. And that's even when trademarks are not registered in the appropriate category. Now, normally when you register a trademark, you register it in a category. So Skittles would be registered in a category that talks about sweets and confectionery and that kind of allied product. Vapes are classified usually in class 34, a category relating to electronic cigarettes. Now, Skittles is not registered in that particular category. However, there can still be a trademark offence if something's not registered within that category. If that trademark has developed a reputation in the UK and the trademark or whoever's applying that trademark or whoever's supplying product that has the trademark supplied or applied actually uses it and it diminishes the reputation of the trademark that's involved. Now, as I say, I've actually put in your bundle section 92 of the Trademarks Act. That's at 25. That actually shows you the criminal breach. And in this respect, when we've got something that's not registered in the category, but still we want to assert that it's a breach, we'd be looking at section 92 4B as well to prove or to put forward to a court to say, look, this is the section we're referring to, it's about reputation, and it's still a breach of section 92. Right, I think that might be enough in respect of the law, which is quite dry. So I'm now going to turn to the facts.
Your licensing area.
Chair, I think it's now left
For deliberation.
if you want to summarise, you can.
Can do, yeah.
I think that I've given you enough information. I think I've given you enough information there in respect of it. So that end bit did summarise what it is that we're saying in respect of the breaches of the three licensing objectives that I've alluded to. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've heard from all parties that's been here today with us. The members will now go into deliberation. The applicant in a private session, and all parties are asked to leave the room. Once we have reached our decision, you will be invited back into the meeting for the committees to present their decision, but the gentleman's not here, so will that be done in writing? Yeah, so so you can come back and hear the decision. So if you can all leave the room, take your belongings, your phones, your bags.
Do you mind if I leave the trolley here, though?
That's fine.
That's fine. I'll trust you with the dates and I'll come back.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for your patience whilst we've been deliberating and making our decision. I will now read out our decision of the subcommittee. We have considered the application for the review of the premises licence for Stop and Shop, 15 East Lathgate, Doncaster, and have taken into account the written representation made and the evidence presented today, the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the Home Office guidance and our statement of licensing policy, and have decided to revoke the licence. The subcommittee made the decision for the following reasons. It was submitted by Trading Standards, a reasonable, responsible authority, that the premise licence holder, Mr. Hawandi, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Adwan, so I asked to know, sorry, Hadawan has received 2 letters in November 2022, May 2023, advising him of his responsibilities in relation to the sale of vapes. In addition, there was a formal interview in June 2023 where he was further advised regarding his responsibilities. Despite this, a joint visit was carried out in October 2023 where 660 oversized vapes were seized. Some of these bore the names of Skittles, Hubba Bubba, with further infringements to the trademark legislation. A further joint visit was carried out in January 2024, where 548 oversized vapes were seized. The assistant in the store at the time did not have the authority from immigration to work in the country. A right to work has now been granted. In addition, it was observed that the copy of the licence was not displayed on public view as per the licensing condition, and therefore there was no challenge 25 posters. The oversized vapes represent an infringement of the law and potentially a public safety risk. The committee were concerned that, even after being warned on more than one occasion, the premises licence holder continued to flout regulations and showed a disregard for the licence objectives, specifically public safety, the protection of children from harm, and the prevention of crime and disorder. There were particular concerns at the nature of some of these vape sites at the premise, given the flavours appeared to be targeted at children and young people with gummy bears and Skittles. Thank you. Thank you for your attending today. Yeah. Thank you for attending on this particular one. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is item 6, application for review of an existing premise licence, Beckett Road News, 35 Beckett Road, Wheatley, Doncaster, DN2 4AD. I am Councillor Linda Curran, Chair of the Licensing Subcommittee, and I would like to welcome you all back to today's Licensing Subcommittee meeting. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting that the public can attend. Before we commence, I would like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice today. If the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber, turn right and proceed down the stairway and through the emergency exit on the ground floor. The assembly point is in the public square in front of Cast, beyond the fountain. Anybody with mobility issues could wait in the refuge area near the lift and use the intercom to call for assistance. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's website. By entering the Council chamber, you are accepting that you will be recorded and your image will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If anyone intends to record today's meeting, please ensure that this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode, and thank you. I will now commence the meeting. Can I remind members that Appendix F of the report and parts of the additional documents submitted are exempt. If any member wishes to discuss these, the public and press will be excluded from the meeting and brought back in once the discussion has been concluded. We are here today to discuss the application for a review of an existing premise licence for Beckett Road News, 35 Beckett Road, Wheatley, Doncaster, DN2 4AD. All parties who have indicated that they wish to address the subcommittee will be given the opportunity to speak. The procedures will be as follows, as it's set out in the report. Has everyone had a copy? Has anyone not seen a copy of the agenda? No. Can I now invite the licensing officer to represent and introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. This hearing is to determine an application to review an existing premise licence in respect of Beckett Road News, 35 Beckett Road, Wheatley. The premises concerned are currently licensed to shop, licensed for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises. The application is for a review of an existing premise licence following an inspection in June 2023 and January 2024 regarding the suspected supply of illicit tobacco products. I can confirm that the application has been correctly advertised and that the mandatory consultation has taken place. During the consultation period, representations were received in support of the review. The representations are shown to members at Appendix F. The notice of hearing for the licensee was returned to the authority as addressee gone away. We therefore served a copy of the notice of hearing at the premises. I can confirm that all the required notices of the hearing have been given and all parties have been made aware of the procedure to be followed at the hearing, both in the notes that accompany the notice of hearing and the hearing papers. The options available to the committee when making its determination are detailed in the report. Thank you.
I will now ask the applicant to address the subcommittee. Whoever is speaking, please identify yourself when speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I believe we now know that I'm Karen O'Rourke and that I'm representing Trading Standards in this matter, which is an application for the review of the premises licence for Beckett Road News. Again, it's the three licensing objectives: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the protection of children from harm, that are specifically mentioned within your application, which is in that original agenda pack that you have in front of you. Now, in order to not confuse you, I think it might be better if I explain that you've got a similar pack in front of you that's a supplementary bundle that contains legislation and then the evidence. That legislation, I'll refer to it broadly, but rather than direct you to pages of it, I'll just go through what's wrong with the actual product that we've got before us, and then we'll look specifically at the documents that are in the evidence part of that bundle. But it's exactly the same as we did earlier. There's white paper, pink paper. So I'll focus more on the pink paper in respect of this particular review. Is that okay? Does that suit? Okay then.
Heard from all parties, the subcommittee will go into a private session to deliberate. Thank you very much. Members will now deliberate the application in a private session, and all parties are asked to leave the room. Once we have reached our decision, you will be invited back into the meeting for the committee to present their decision. If you are unable to remain, please indicate now if you can't remain. And welcome back, everyone. And thank you for your patience while we deliberated and made our decision. I will now read out the decision of the subcommittee. We have considered the application for a review of the premise licence for Beckett Road News, 35 Beckett Road, Wheatley, Doncaster, and have taken into account the written representations made and the evidence presented today, the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the Home Office guidance, and our statement of licensing policy, and we have decided to revoke the licence. The subcommittee has made the decision for this reason, for the following reason. It was submitted by Trading Standards, a responsible authority, that the premise licence holder was provided with advice regarding due diligence. He was sent a letter on the 2nd of May 2023. Later that month, on the 19th of May 2023, an email was sent to the premise licence holder trying to contact him to request he attended in for a recorded interview, but no response was ever received. The mobile number could not dial as one of the digits was missing. A number was wrong on all the documents relating to this premises licence holder. During a visit in June 2023, products were seized, which included illicit vapes, illicit cigarettes. Paperwork was left asking the premise licence holder to contact the Trading Standards, but no response was received. In January 2024, a joint visit was made to the premises to see if they were now compliant. The team were accompanied by a special dog and trainer. They found an hidden compartment which had to be broken open, where illicit cigarettes were found, and further stock was found in an old refrigerator. Breaches of licensing conditions were also observed in that there was no copy of the premises licence on display, no Challenge 25 posters, and there were no refusal book. Some of the cigarette seeds that were detained flavoured were such as apple, mint and wine. A senior analyst received samples of amber leaf rolling tobacco and they were seized. 2 samples were sent, one from the concealment and one from items in the refrigerator. Both samples were counterfeit. Other hand rolling tobacco sent, i.e. Richmond Blue, Lambert and Butler and Golden Virginia, was also counterfeit. This was a breach of the Trademarks Act in 1994, a breach of which carries a sentence of up to 10 years imprisonment. The Trading Standards Officer referred to the report from a Dr. Khan in 2020, which reported that the illicit trade contributes to tobacco addiction when sold at a price which doesn't take into account the duty that diminishes the effect of the high cost. The committee noted that the illicit cigarettes were more appealing to young people who find them more affordable. Counterfeit cigarettes are likely to lack the reduction ignition, seen in legitimate cigarettes. The committee also heard from Mr. Clark from the Home Office Immigration, Compliance and Enforcement. He detailed that his team had visited on 4 occasions between December 2022 and October 2023. On 3 of these occasions, the team found 1 male present alone on the premises. There was a different male present on each occasion, but on these occasions, the male were found to be working illegally. It is clear to the committee that this premises licence holder had completely disregarded for the law and the licensing objectives, specifically the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of harm to children and public safety. The committee took into account the guidance of paragraph 1127 of the statutory guidance. Therein, certain criminal activities may arise in connection with licensed premises, which could be treated particularly serious. These are those used of the licensed premises. For employment, a person who is disqualified from that work by reasons of their immigration status within the UK, for the sale or storage of smuggled tobacco and alcohol. This guidance adds a paragraph 1128, where reviews arise and the licensing authority determines that the crime prevention objections is being undermined, though the premises being used to further crimes. It is expected and that the revoke of the licence, when in the first instance, should be a serious consideration. Thank you. And I would like